3 weeks ago, the Chicago Union were 5-0, poised and positioned to basically clinch first place in the AUDL Central Division. But after back-to-back losses, the Union now find themselves in a 3-team tussle with Minnesota and Madison, where only 2 of the 3 will make the playoffs. Tonight, Chicago invades Madison, where the Radicals and their rowdy fans would like nothing more than to knock off the Union for the second time this season. Every game matters that much more as Chicago and Madison launch Week 9 of the AUDL season next. And we're off from Madison, Wisconsin. There are very few, if any, places in the world better for Free Friday Frisbee than Breeze Stevens Field here in the capital city of Ultimate. And a huge matchup in the Central Division tonight. The Chicago Union at 7-2, the Madison Radicals currently out of the playoffs at 6-3, but 4 weeks left in the season. The Radicals trying to play their way back into the top 2 in the Central Division here tonight. The rubber match of the regular season series between Chicago and Madison. Good evening, everybody. Evan Lepler with Adam Ruffner and Tyler Kinley. It's great to have you with us. A huge game tonight, Adam, for this Madison Radicals team after a championship in 2018 and a disappointing 2019. Look, they are back in the mix. The question is, can they be one of the best teams in the division, and can they beat Chicago tonight?
I think the answer to that is yes, Evan. They had a gut punch in Week 1, losing here to Minnesota, but since then, they've been the Radicals of old. They've been tightening it down on defense, and they've won 5 out of their last 6 to claw their way back into the Central Division playoff race.
And a huge back of that ascension was the win here a few weeks ago over the Chicago team. The Union were 5-0. They took the gut punch, and now the Chicago team really has a chance to respond and seize the division back tonight.
Absolutely. You know, they started off the year looking like the best team in the division. That wake-up call, you know, it really lit a fire under them. But tonight they're in Breeze Stadium. It's a whole new ball game. They're on the road. It's a test. I'm excited.
The word Dave Woods, the coach of the Union, kept using is focus. We need to focus better. They did that in the past couple weeks, including their win over Minnesota last Saturday. Look, Pablo Llanes is the anchor to their offense, the leader in assists in the AUDL 3 consecutive seasons. Expect another big game from him tonight.
I'm also going to take some words out of Coach Dave Woods' mouth and say the same thing that he told us pregame. Pablo is having a very characteristic season. He is still leading the league in throwing yards and assists, but he's taken a slightly smaller role in the Chicago offense that is more talented than ever, and he's picking his spots more smartly, and Chicago is finding their pace better.
Kevin Pettit-Scantling for the Madison Radicals will be tasked with chasing Llanes around the field a bunch tonight, one of the top defenders in the league and really the heartbeat fan favorite for the Radicals.
You know, it's true. It's hard not to love KPS. He's a leader on and off the field. He's charismatic. He's fierce. And we're going to see him matching up with Pavel tonight. So expect some fireworks.
And he's been the author of some of the most insane highlight reel plays of the season. He'll have this crowd fired up and ready to go, expecting a huge crowd tonight at Breeze. It's the regular season home finale for Madison. And look, it's one of the biggest regular season games they've had here in several years. We got a beautiful night for Ultimate in the low 70s, and it's a homecoming game for certain members of the Chicago Union. Peter Graffi making his first return to Breeze after winning a championship for the Radicals in 2018. Former Radical Ross Barker, also a member of Chicago tonight. Dave Wood trying to invade Madison and escape with a win. The Radicals and the Union coming up.
They say there's no such thing as a free lunch, but there is at DraftKings. You can compete for thousands in prizes in our free-to-play pools without spending a dime. Put your knowledge to the test by answering questions about specific games or events. The more you pick right, the better your shot to win and chow down on a cash casserole. Casserole. Download the DraftKings app now. Enter with the promo code PLAYFREE for thousands and make it rain.
There is the coach of the Chicago Union, Dave Woods, stresses the three pillars of their team culture, the 3 C's: competition, communication, and community. Dave just celebrated his 34th birthday a couple of weeks ago, but he has not beaten the Radicals at Bree Stevens Field this year. He hopes to change that tonight. There is Tim DeBile. He and the Radicals are looking for their 99th win in franchise history here tonight. They enter 98-24 all time. They are 51-3 all time against the Midwest at home, but a couple of those losses were against Chicago. Here we go, Free Friday Frisbee from Madison. Jeff Robinson launches the opening pull to get us started. An opening D-line for Chicago with Nate Goff, Sam Kaminsky, Drew Swanson, Reed Martin, Peter Graffey, Jason Valley, and Jeff Robinson. And Madison with its handler core of Victor Luo, Logan Pruse, Dylan Power. And a stall called less than 25 seconds in. Luo held on to it for too long, and that was friendly fire.
That's a shocker of an opening. I mean, I just can't believe they got stalled to start the game.
Peter Graffey's in the end zone.
Wow.
How are fans going to feel about Graffey returning as a member of the Chicago Union tonight, Adam?
He was already getting heckled a little bit coming in the gates expectedly, but, you know, I think there's going to be a little bit of a warm at the beginning, and as the game goes on, gradually more and more heckling comes out towards Peter.
He's got great numbers, one of the 2 players in the history of the league with 150 goals, 150 assists, and 150 blocks. The other member of that club is wearing a Radicals jersey tonight, Andrew Meshnick.
Backbone of the defense. Someone who still doesn't get talked enough about, I think, given his historical numbers in this league.
So a strong start for Chicago. They get the break just 40 seconds in. Kaminsky to Graffey after the stall called on Luo. And Robinson will launch another pull for Chicago.
Robinson is an underrated part of the Chicago defense. As you can see right there, he just launches these perfect settling deep pulls that really allow the Union defense to get set up. He was not here in the team's loss the last time these 2 teams played.
There's an interesting mix of young and old on this second O-line, what Tim DeBile likes to call the O-prime line. Veterans like Josh Wilson, Tom Mann, and Andrew Meshnick, Kevin Pettit-Scantling, but also youngsters like Henry Goldenberg and Ian McCoskey. Sterling Kanaki in that veteran department as well. Sterling's had a great season for the Radicals. Typically thought of as a defender, but he's been a big-time goal scorer for the Radicals so far this year. Pettit-Scantling feels the bid of Swanson, but hangs on. And now Swanson peels off for the double team. Kanaki, quick toss back for Goldenberg. Tough low grab by Wilson and through the tightest of spaces, and then bowling over Nate Goff. It's Henry Goldenberg to tie the game up, 10-10 left in the first.
You know, starting this game off, that's a strong hold from Madison, but the momentum does not feel in their favor. Usually we've seen Chicago run what we call a junk set or pull stopping pseudo zones that fall into man. That first point, it was pure person defense. That point was a little bit looser, but it seems to have rattled the Radicals a little bit here.
Goff trying to draw that charging call, but unfortunately that is not a foul or any kind of call in Ultimate Frisbee.
So Henry Goldenberg has thrown or caught a goal in 9 of the 10 games he's played this year. 22-year-old rookie, grew up here in Madison, plays for the University of Wisconsin. And now we get a look at the Chicago O-line, centered all around number 55, Pavel Giannis, picked up by Kevin Pettit-Scantling. Paul Arders working with Giannis in the backfield and feeds it to Jeremy Burrell. one of the three captains of the Union with Ross Barker and Charlie Furse. Here's Barker, the former Radical, shooting it deep. Testing Dan Garlock, and Garlock gets a piece of it. Intended for Jack Shanahan, but Garlock there for the block.
Shanahan appealing for a foul call there, but I thought Garlick got a very clean whack on the disc there.
Looked clean to me.
We saw the Union break very quickly on their first opportunity after the stall. Now Madison, can their D-line go the full 80 yards of the field? Garlock working with Pettit Scantling. Up the line, Garlock had it go off his fingertips. And now he'll have Giannis, who switched onto him defensively after the turn. Double team coming with McCoskey there too. Up the line, it's the former Radical Pat Trywise, and he'll pick up the assist to Keegan North for the Chicago score.
You really like to see Chicago just take that disc right off the turn and punch it in. No fooling around, no cute throws, straight up the line. Second goal of the night, take the lead back.
One of the reasons that Chicago became the favorite this year was the additions of Pat Trywise, former Radical, and Keegan North, who helped lead the Indy Alley Cats all the way to the Final Four back in 2019.
You know, for as good and talented as North here, as we get another look at that clean Garlock block, that was nice. You know, North has been a nice addition for the Chicago team. I don't know if he's quite reached that level that he was playing at with the Alley Cats in 2018 and 2019. I still think there's the best North yet to play for this Chicago team in 2021.
I think you're right on. Chicago got the early break. Madison 0 for 1 on break chances in the early minutes. Chicago could be the first team in the league as Weiland makes a great grab. Chicago could be the first team in the league to officially clinch a playoff spot. They will do so if they win tonight. Weiland shooting it. Victor Luo is there.
Great shape on that throw.
Both teams seem to be looking to fall into a bit of a rhythm. I mean, this game started off, both defenses seemed to be applying a lot of pressure, and the offenses were a little disjointed. Even there we saw a wide open throw that led to a layout, but it seems like both are starting to fall into a bit more of a rhythm with each other.
One of the things that Madison did in their win over Chicago a few weeks ago here was get Victor Luo downfield a little bit more in favorable matchups for his quickness to shine.
He is so good in space. You know, you might not label him as a receiver, but he is a great target to throw to. He's so quick. He's so good at getting to places where throwers like to throw, as you saw in that last cut for the goal. Chris Weiland isn't a known thrower yet. Victor made such a nice cut for him. He just had to set it on a pillow.
8th goal of the year for Luo. He's got 17 assists as well. Trywise underneath for Arders. Nico Ranabat there bouncing defensively. Trywise's swing floats a little bit. Shanahan able to handle it though. Nico Lake has been an understated, underrated, solid addition to Chicago this year as well on their O-line. As Trywise has it in the red zone, looking for Giannis. Great defense from Pettit Scantling, forcing the longer swing for North.
Yeah, they used Lake kind of like their finisher last week against Minnesota. He pounded home a couple coffin nails with scuba assists late in that game to really seal the Union win. Oh,
that
my.
disc bouncing around, and it juggles into North's hands eventually, and then he throws into two defenders, and Goldenberg's there for the block. It was popcorn for a moment there, just the disc popping all around.
Hot potato.
And the Radicals and Scuba over Goldenberg, make it over Shuey, and Arders, the quick beneficiary of Giannis's quick initiation, 3-2 Union.
Yeah, and Coach Tim DeBile is immediately off the sideline after that last throw. He did not like that one.
You know, there's a lot to be frustrated with here from not punching in those opportunities. However, they're earning these turns. The Radicals defense is doing an excellent job of taking away the underneath options and the middle of the field from Chicago. You'll see Chicago's throwing a lot of lofty swings, and they're not taking the deep looks, but that's what they're baiting them to throw, and they're getting blocks. So I'd say the Radicals defense is getting to what they want. They just need to start getting a little more patient, value the disc a little more on that turn. They're in a good spot.
Tyler, what kind of a challenge is it for Giannis with a defender like Kevin Pettit-Scantling denying those resets?
Well, it's always going to be an added challenge. I mean, Pavel, what he's got is he is the focal point of the offense. So the entire season, he's going to be seeing the best defenders and a lot of the focus of a team's defense. And here, though, you know, KPS is an elite defender, so he's got his work cut out for him.
Chris Weiland pestered by Charlie Furse. Power guarded by Schock, and here's Avery Johnson, marked by Robinson. Very close to a block. Tim Schock pops right back up. Been overcast most of the day, but the sun has come out in the early evening here in Madison.
It always does.
That's how it feels here on the Isthmus. Wom resets for Power. Madison taking its time until the deep shot from Luo finds a bidding post, but he cannot hang on.
That's
Impact
tough.
dislodged the disc.
That's a tough one. That's one you stay up later at night thinking about a little bit.
Chicago has one break already. It came on the first point of the night. Drew Swanson to Nate Goff. Swinging it cross field to a wide open Furse. And here's Schock at midfield launching. Both Goff and Kennedy are there, and it was Swanson, rather, who steals the score from his shorter teammate. Joey Kennedy had the angle, but Swanson takes it away and gives the Union a 2-goal lead.
Did Swanson just dunk on his own teammate,
That's what
let alone a
it felt
rookie? That's cruel. Oh, he stopped rotation on that layout too, Paus did. A nice read there from Swanson. He just didn't even see Kennedy as he was tracking down that goal.
Joey Kennedy, 21 years old. Drew Swanson, not exactly a veteran, but 25 now. Apologizing.
He just kissed him on the forehead.
What a season Swanson's having. He's had at least one block in every game he's played. Now 6 goals, 18 blocks for Swanson, who was part of the AUDL All-Rookie team 2 years ago as a first-year professional out of North Park. So a very different start for Chicago, Adam, than the one they had here 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, I would say it's a total role reversal. Radicals looking like they need some juice, and Chicago not playing the cleanest ultimate, but definitely coming out locked in mentally.
That was the key word for the Union coming into the game, focus. Dave Woods talked about how you could tell going into the action when they lost back-to-back games, they just weren't focused going into it. Resulted in drops and poor throws. They really tried to be intentional about how can we figure this out. A part of it was the pregame preparation. A part of it was the pregame warm-up, changing what they did, their tempo, their pace. Certainly sharp at the outset tonight. McCoskey to Pettit-Scantling.
This is a nice settle-down drive for Madison. Oh.
That disc not going to stay up long enough.
Shouldn't have said that. Commentator's curse.
Turns it over.
Just watching the Radicals offense, it's hard to figure out what they're trying to do.
It can get like that at times. I don't know how else to explain it. There are times where this Radicals offense is moving it crisp, cleanly, under 4 seconds each with the disc, and then there are times like that where it just slows down and you can't quite make sense of it.
Well, look, I think part of it is the question of who is the alpha on their particular O-line.
Absolutely.
And, you know, they haven't had Kevin Brown all year. Suffered a hamstring injury the Monday before the season was expected to start on Friday. He hasn't been on the field. Kevin Brown was going to be kind of the focal point of the offense. No one else has been really comfortable in that role, a role that Pat Schreiwise played for Madison for a long time, that Peter Graffey would play for Madison for a long time. Another opportunity to break here for Chicago. And there is Graffey, speaking of the longtime Radicals anchor. Through the double team, he flips it up, and Andrew Meshnick intercepted it. Graffey looking for a call.
I'm very glad they did not call that. He was looking to draw that all day.
Timeout called by Pettit Scantling. This is a Madison O point as they're trying to get the hold with just over 2 minutes to go in the quarter.
I love that timeout call. KPS's cutting has been some of the only that I can actually tell what's going on. It seems like it's either a hesitancy from the Radicals or strong defense that's taken them out of their game from the Union. But whatever it is, they're going to need to clean it up. And this is on the coaching.
So Wilson got Graffey on the arm there as Graffey was stepping through. But you don't think that was a foul?
It was on the offhand that his disc wasn't in, and it was already after Peter had committed to falling into drawing the foul. You know, it looks a little bit more like a foul in the slow-mo replay, but I still think that was the appropriate no call there. See, it looks like Graffey's doing the up and under into Wilson's from that second angle, so I don't know.
It's a tough one too, because you got to think, if that's not called, we expect it to not be called throughout the entire game, and that's going to be what I'll be looking for.
Correct.
And I'm fine with that not being a foul.
Right.
Graffey clearly trying to initiate that contact. But you're right. It'll be interesting to see if it is consistent.
This is an interesting starting position. Again, the Radicals, I love sometimes when they come out of stop discs because it almost looks like a football formation.
Basketball. It's always basketball.
Gets it to
Is
post.
it?
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't exactly look like the ultimate we're used to, and that's what I like.
Weiland has his second assist of the quarter, finding Logan Pruce in the end zone, and a huge turning point there. Looked like the Union were going to go up by 3. Instead, the Radicals back within 1.
And that's the guy that they need to get more involved if they want to get back into this game. Logan Pruis has been such a good force in the backfield for this Radicals team for years.
Real quick, gentlemen, keys to the game presented by DraftKings. What do we got tonight, Adam?
Well, for Chicago, it's focusing on this first quarter, and so far they've done that. They have a slight lead. They've gotten a couple breaks. They definitely have the energy and the momentum. It's a total transformation from a couple weeks ago.
Tyler, for Madison, they need to recognize the reality. Yes, they need a win tonight, but they also need to win by a considerable margin, because it's very possible there's a 3-way tie at the end of the season if Madison does win this game. And if they only win it by 1 or 2, the point differential may not be in the Radicals' favor.
Exactly. And that's a coaching challenge as well, because you're not just going for that win. You have to change your strategy, especially if you're up late in the game. You have to keep pushing. So expect to see them looking downfield just through the entirety of the game.
Pavlianis, 6 for 6, now 7 for 7, throwing the disc. Here in the first quarter, week 9 of the AUDL, this 12-week regular season. Quickly coming down the home stretch.
Nice throw there from Schreiwise.
Got to be a little strange for him to be back in a different jersey. On every Radicals team from 2013 to 2019. Arter shooting it for Schreiwise on the doorstep. He is in. Pat Schreiwise A great career for the Radicals. 144 goals, 193 assists in a Madison jersey.
Watch Kanaki bait this.
Similar looking style of play, the long arm reach.
Man, Kanaki was baiting that and he almost got it, but just not there in time.
I do like that Radicals look there. It wasn't the just straight person defense matchup that they've been running occasionally. That time it was more of a wall in the front. However, they were putting Nico Ranabat to really keep his eyes and spy on Pavel Yanis. They're very aware of where Pavel is at all times, and you'll notice on that point, Ranabat was really tracking him the entire time. Anytime Pavel tried to get around the disc, he would basically go person on him. So expect to see more of that real focusing on Pavel.
Cruz catches the pull, centers it to Luo, who's double teamed immediately. Here's Weiland. Adam, Chris Weiland has played a lot of different roles over the years for the Radicals, but he's found a home on this O-line lately.
Yeah, he's a terrific receiver in space. I had the pleasure of playing with Chris in his first year of competitive Ultimate now over half a decade ago, and he was just a raw talent then, but we could all see him filling into this receiving role, and it's great to see him years later doing such a good job in it.
Got size, he's got speed,
he's got so much speed.
Yeah, showing off the throws. Rami Paust shooting at Weiland, one of a bunch of players there, but it's Weiland who had it and then lost it, but there was contact. And I think they're going to call this a goal. Pass interference in the end zone, and it will be a score for Weiland. Rami Paust with the assist with 4 seconds left in the quarter.
He gets the stat for the assist. However, I don't think he's going to be urged to throw that one again.
Rami likes to shoot. Just plain and simple.
Well, shoot
Paust,
he did.
Paust is a shooter, but look at Weiland's elevation. He had that too. That's the other thing. I was talking about Weiland's foot speed a second ago, but that boy can get up into space, and he's big. He's hard to move. That's one of the things I think is very underestimated about Weiland. He used to guard up on Bo Kittredge a few years ago because he could withstand that sort of top speed jockeying that Kittredge carved one of the greatest careers the sport has ever seen doing.
Rami Paust with his 28th assist of the season, and a huge spot here. I mean, Madison has been outplayed in this first quarter, but if they could get a stop here, and they have added some time to the clock, so 8 seconds instead of 4, which is a big difference. If the Radicals can get to the buzzer without giving up a goal and only be down by 1, that'll feel very different than 6-4 with Chicago receiving to start the second.
Well, they've been coming, Chicago's been running a lot of 2-3 on each side, and we may see that again. They'll often kick it to that side of 3 people and then look to punt from there. So here's North on that 3 side.
5 seconds for Chicago. Shanahan shoots it, and it's intercepted by Kanaki, and that's how the quarter will end. So a quarter where Chicago has 2 breaks and the Radicals have none, and yet it's a 1-goal game after 1. Tyler, what stands out to you most about those first 12 minutes?
A lot of turnovers, and what that comes down to me is it's going to come down to some people making some plays. It hasn't been perfect, and so you got to come up with things like we just saw that huck from Rami Paust. It was just hanging up in the air, but they made the play. So I expect to see more of that really defining the game if it continues like this.
We got the jitters out the way. This is basically a playoff game. I'm expecting a great last 3 quarters.
9 turnovers in the 12 minutes to start the contest tonight. Free Friday Frisbee from Bree Stevens Field. Look at that shot. It's a beautiful thing. Second quarter coming up on DraftKings.
They say there's no such thing as a free lunch, but there is at DraftKings. You can compete for thousands in prizes in our free-to-play pools without spending a dime. Put your knowledge to the test by answering questions about specific games or events. The more you pick right, the better your shot to win and chow down on a cash casserole. Casserole. Download the DraftKings app now.
We go to the second quarter here in Madison. Ultimate fans playing a free AUDL pool on DraftKings for your shot at $1,000 in prizes. Just answer the series of questions on the results of the second half. And if you get enough correct, you can take home your share of $1,000. Download the DraftKings app. Sign up with a promo code AUDL. There's still time to enter that free-to-play pool. 5-4 Chicago leads by 1, and the Union receiving to start the second here at Breese-Stevens Field, the home of the Radicals since they entered the AUDL in 2013. Chicago was known as the Windy City Wildfire back then the Chicago Wildfire for a bunch of years, rebranding during the long break during the pandemic from the Wildfire to the Union. And I'll say I like the Union name now more than I did initially. It's grown on me.
It's a good name.
They've branded themselves well. The jerseys, the kits, they're clean, they're sharp.
Oh, those all-white kits are clean as... KPS gets a huge layout attempt on Pavel.
I was wondering where you were going with that.
One thing to watch here, Radicals did not complete or even attempt a huck in that first quarter. They did not complete or attempt a huck, or they did not complete a huck in their last game entirely.
Oh, surprising to see Andrew Meshnick misplay that. It looked like he had the block lined up on the high stall count, flicked to the far side of the field, but Burrell makes the catch, picks up the assist to North, and it's a 6-4 Chicago lead.
And I think Burrell's probably pleased he missed too, because he was left just stranded waiting for it to drop. What I'm really shocked by is exactly what you said, the lack of hucks, but you go back and watch that point, what shocked me even more was the lack of deep cuts. Chicago's not offering opportunities for the huckers to huck to anybody. They're really, really attacking the underneath, and I expect to see that change. I mean, they got a great look for a block there. It's sort of a battle for who can get underneath.
Adam, let's go back to something you said in the open describing Pavel Giannis' season as uncharacteristically characteristic, or however you put it.
Oh, that was Dave Woods'
mimicking
words.
Dave Woods. I mean, he's leader in the game tonight, over 200 yards so far, and he's accumulated yards in a lot of game kind of quietly in strange ways.
He's doing a lot less deep throws this year. He's being a lot more selective. He's working more between parts.
High throw, but Jacob Wam has the size, and Luo to Paust, who's in. Maybe the best O point yet for the Madison offense.
Absolutely. I was thinking the same thing. And they had a deep shot opportunity that they looked off. I mean, it's clear they want to be conservative with the disc, especially coming out of that first half where they just didn't seem to feel composed.
It is a young team. It is something that continually needs to be talked about with this Madison team. It is, I believe, almost 5 years younger on average than any other Radicals roster that's ever been fielded.
And they still got a few old guys like Meshnick and Annan kind of lifting up that average, Josh Wilson as well.
And those veterans have absolutely been the backbone, but I would say that this team's successes have really been born off of that rookie class stepping up into their roles.
Rami Paust scoring the goal there. How has Paust's progress this year impressed you, surprised you? What do you think about his season?
You know, I think he's been having a quietly very good year for being elevated into that Kevin Brown position you were talking about earlier, kind of unexpectedly. Rami is definitely more of a traditional thrower than a cutter, and yet he's been asked to fill that primary initiating role and done very ably at it throughout the 2021 season.
Giannis didn't let the stall count get beyond 2 or 3 there, keeping the disc moving. Got a little higher on Try-Wise, and now Giannis takes the deep shot. Looking for Barker, and it's a beauty. Picture perfect there from Pavel.
Both teams are falling into a bit of more of a groove here offensively, but given the Radicals' game plan is to force them to shoot deep, that's what they got what they wanted. They're going to get beat sometimes. Good teams are going to score, but the Radicals are sticking to their game plan.
This, by the way, the 301st assist of Pavel Giannis' AUDL career. Just in his 4th season, he's the 4th player in the history of the league to cross over 300 assists, which he did in the first quarter. Keenan Plouffe, Goose Helton, Cam Harris, and Pavel Giannis.
How many games played is Pavel at right now for his career?
About half as many as those other guys.
Yeah. The 300 assists in 4 seasons, not 4 complete seasons.
Tonight, Pavel's 52nd game. That's half as many as Cam Harris, and Cam has played the fewest of that other trio.
Just absurd.
Averaging about 6 assists per game throughout his entire career. Oh, nice adjustment there by Luo. Luo throws it, taken off downfield, and they call it travel on post.
You know, one of the greatest signs of respect from another team is when you get some of their best defenders. I've always liked Victor Luo's game, and it's clear it's respected because he's being matched up with Nate Goff, probably one of the most elite defenders here.
I don't know if that's a great matchup for Chicago, though. Luo is so good in quick spaces, I feel like he could maybe exploit the larger Goff.
Doing it nicely there on a beautiful put from Weiland. And here's Paust. Does not have a reset behind him, but wide open. On the open side, miscommunication defensively, and Weiland has the score.
You know, Adam, I agree with you about that Goff-Luo matchup, and I think it might have been in response to Luo going downfield, as we saw earlier. This gives, you know, Luo that dynamic opportunity to come back when he's guarded by Goff, to go downfield when he gets a different matchup, more of a handler defender. So I'm excited to see how Luo performs throughout this game, because it's clear how he performs is going to really dictate how well the Radicals offense finds its flow.
And to that point, I think that one of the kind of intangibles of Luo's game is his ability to recognize his matchup. Chicago did something similar last game, and they threw Drew Swanson on him for a couple of points, one of the league leaders in blocks. Luo kind of dog-walked him a little bit around the field. Swanson was still very close on a few Ds, but he missed on a few. And when you miss on layouts, you allow those throwers so much opportunity to start running the offense how they like. And that's exactly what Luo did. He just took off into space and got a lot of easy gainers.
Coach Ruffner, Coach Kinley, if Swanson and Goff aren't the answers for Luo, who on Chicago's roster would be better suited to try to slow down Victor?
Well, it's a little bit of pick your poison, isn't it?
Giannis shooting it deep. Ross Barker lost his hat, but he'll get there. Accelerating into the end zone to haul in the Pavel Giannis huck. 3rd assist for Giannis. And a 2-goal Union lead.
They're just playing pitch and catch out there right now. Look at the bead on that disc.
We asked Tim DeBile when we chatted with him a few nights ago, where does Pavel compare to the toughest handlers you've had to stop in your time coaching in the AUDL? And Tim, with a ton of respect, said he's probably the 2nd toughest guy we've had to stop, behind Ashland Joy, who won 3 AUDL titles, 2 with the Spiders, 14 and 15, 1 with the San Francisco Flamethrowers. But Tim DeBile shared some really interesting philosophical thought about how Ashland Joy and Pavel Giannis are very different players in the way they go about their business stylistically. And Tyler, from guarding Ashland Joy a lot in the past, you had some interesting thoughts on that too.
You know, Ashland's another one who he's the focal point for the offense, the hub. They called him the king. They used chess piece analogies, and the challenge is he's always marked up against incredible defenders. So he's got an incredible array of weapons to get open. However, he's more of a pocket quarterback, if you will, whereas Giannis might be a little bit more of a mobile quarterback. He's attacking a little bit more.
Stall count rising, and Peter Graffey's going to get a block here. No one was going deep, and the punt fielded by Graffey. Continue.
Yeah, but Giannis's his attacking style is different. He's a bit more mobile. He'll attack more parts of the field, and he'll use that to open up lanes, whereas Ashland, with his ability to hold the disc high into stall counts and still find 30, 40-yard gainers downfield, that was his sort of superpower.
Yeah, the way Tim put it, said Pavel has an attacking nature that is really different than Ashland. Pavel's aggressive with his legs, aggressive with his throws. Ashland was more the doctor who would just dissect us and cut us apart. I said, Pavel, if we create a brick wall, he'll try to break through it, whereas Ashland, he'll try to find a tiny hole to get through it. It's an interesting comparison.
I think both of those dominant handlers would agree, though, that throw that Pavel threw to start that point, just from a standstill huck, they set the tone of the game. If he misses that, the Radicals will keep going at him. They'll keep fronting. They'll keep forcing him to take those throws, and that's a first throw miss. Instead, he gains that momentum. He gains that confidence. He hits it. I mean, you saw him blowing kisses to the crowd, right? I mean, it feels amazing to hit that and to gain that level of, I can do this, and just watch.
I think Ashland Joy was probably the less chatty player on the field compared to Pavel Giannis. Giannis is always chirping.
Absolutely.
Pavel 17 for 17 right now, 249 throwing yards, also 96 receiving yards. He's at 345 total, and we got 2.5 quarters still to play.
Ooh.
The hammer was denied. Keegan North rejected by Ian McCoskey.
McCoskey and Meshnik have been so good in that double team.
And then to Pettit Scantling in the end zone. The Radicals survive the turnover, and KPS brings Madison back within one.
The vaunted Madison Radicals trap zone mark once again gets the turnover. That's what I'm talking about. Meshnik with those long gangly arms. McCoskey, the rookie, just jumping up, swatting that disc down.
It was a heck of an effort by Keegan North to almost lay out and catch the point block.
But unfortunately, I think that's the second or third turnover for North in a situation like that already in this half. I mean, like I was saying earlier, it's not quite the same Keegan North we got used to with the Alley Cats in 2018 and 2019.
Officially, they're giving the block to Meshnik, which I think on seeing the replay is the right choice. So the D and the dime for Andrew Meshnik, playing his 116th game in his AUDL career tonight. That ties him for the third most all-time. Only players who have been in more games than Andrew Meshnik: Indianapolis' Cameron Brock and New York's Matt Lamar.
Crowd starting to get back into it a little bit. That was going to be something that I mentioned after the first quarter. I didn't feel like Chicago got quite enough of a lead to really dispel this eighth defender that Madison can bring sometimes.
You were here for Madison's win over Indy when even Alley Cat's leadership acknowledged how the crowd was a huge factor late in that game as Giannis scores the easy goal from Arders. How would you characterize or quantify what this crowd has meant in some of the bigger moments this season and throughout the history of the franchise?
I think I'll start by saying that in general, a lot of Ultimate players are not used to having a crowd, period, let alone an adversarial crowd,
right.
Let alone an adversarial crowd into the thousands. And so I just think it's one of those novel situations a little bit where you come in here, you're playing a pretty good game, you've got a lead like Indy did, and then things start not going your way, and that crowd loves it. And they're telling you about it on the other sideline when you're close enough. And anytime you come around these little rails where there's fans, they're chirping at you too. It wears on you. And you could see that from Indy throughout the last quarter of that game.
And the other side of that is some players, they don't even hear the fans at all. However, the Radicals do. And anytime they make a play and they hear about how pumped the fans are, it only bolsters them. And I think that's one of the toughest things to play against.
You should hear some of these rookies after games right now. They just are all in, wide-eyed, bushy-tailed about this crowd.
And what a cool experience this is, especially for some of the local Madison kids who came up going to Radicals games and sitting in the stands. Luo, again chased by Goff. Stall count rising, gets the reset for Rami Paust. And here's Power. Over to Johnson. Under 5 to play in the first half. Chicago broke Madison to the game's first point. Has led ever since. Jack Kelly's been quiet so far, and that one nearly blocked by Robinson, but it gets to Chris Weiland, who scores again.
You see that pump fake from Jack Kelly? Put the defender on skates.
He put everybody on skates for a second there.
That's a name we haven't quite heard a lot of tonight. Jack Kelly, he's been a very featured part of this offense downfield. Nice to see him. Look at that nice little check back, making sure he can go up early. Nice response drive there from Madison.
Jacob Waugh bringing the energy on the sideline. Teammates think he's kind of the new KPS in terms of energy that he brings. Reminder, you can still get in on today's action. DraftKings has you covered. Play for free when you sign up with the promo code AUDL. Just download the DraftKings app and make your pick on the results of the second half for your shot at $1,000 in cash. Radicals hanging around. Chicago's O-line still has not been broken yet tonight.
That's kind of incredible.
One of the categories in the free-to-play pool, will Madison's defense get at least 5 breaks or more than 5 breaks? Feels like a no right now, but things can change fast. Chicago, though, very steady. Tyler, what are you seeing from the Union offense?
You know, sometimes players refer to throws as solutions, and I'm seeing Chicago find a lot of solutions to problems here that the Radicals are posing. There's often somebody open, but the challenge for the thrower is to find them. And, you know, Paul Arders has been doing a good job at that. They've been doing a good job of that throughout the point. However, they're having to find them. There's no easy rhythm. They're not just working it down the field. So, you know, kudos to the Radicals there, but also the defense got solved.
Arders to Giannis for the second straight Chicago O point.
I was going to say, that's the 4th straight point that Pavel has either scored or assisted on. He is just becoming relentless here in the second quarter. He's almost up to 400 total yards without a turnover, and we've still got 3.5 minutes of game clock in this first half.
I think when you said Pavel is uncharacteristically characteristic, the challenge for players like that is that you don't know what you're going to see from the defense. Is it going to be a person? Are you just going to be up against a zone? Are you going to have to be patient? Are you going to have to take a big shot? And what he's doing well is being choosy and sort of taking what's given. And I think that's sort of how he's matured and how he's really grown into this role. Is he's just taking what's given.
Dave Woods told me a couple years ago, Pavel approaches the game with an analytical mind unlike anything I've ever seen from anyone else. That's how he is viewed by his head coach.
You know, we talk about Pavel right now with his 300-plus assists as if he's always been this established thrower. And he hasn't been. He's really been this kind of self-made force over the past 4 to 5 years.
That's true. I mean, he's very proud of his days with Colorado Mama Bird, but he was never the superstar on those University of Colorado teams that won the college championship back in 2014 behind standouts like Jimmy Mickle and Stanley Peterson. Chris Ryland hand blocked by Charlie Furse. And then Graffy nearly threw it back to Bruce, and it's Dylan Power who intercepts it. Chicago living dangerously twice, and you can't do that against Madison.
Well, and especially when you hear that crowd just get that little bit of excitement. They are waiting to pop off right now. If Madison can get any kind of consecutive goals in a row, Breeze is going to erupt.
Luo, double teamed, finds the open post. Low throw scooped up by Dylan Power. Power grew up in the Chicago area, his second season with Madison. Over to Weiland and into the end zone for Kelly. Again, it feels like the Radicals are teetering on the edge, but they're staying within striking distance and keeping that loud crowd involved.
Absolutely. It seems like the Radicals, especially their downfielders, are not sure when to activate. They're getting a lot of handler movement and short looks, but they don't know when the handlers are going to pause and look to activate downfield and start taking those looks. And that sort of disconnection seems to be where some of this lack of rhythm, as I keep referring to it, is coming from.
It goes back to what Evan said earlier. There is no wide receiver one on this Radicals roster. There are very good options downfield, but there's no one looking to take command. And that works really well when the offense is using all of its parts and well-oiled. But against a good defense like Chicago, and you run into these situations where you just need to get that disc upfield, that's where the Radicals run into some problems in 2021.
It was funny when Tim DeBile said before the season, we're looking for Rami Paus to be a really important cutter, which is funny because he's really not even a cutter. He's a handler that we're needing to be a cutter because we lack that downfield guy. Nice throw by Schreiwise.
And to Paus' credit, he has over 300 yards without a turnover here.
Yeah, he has risen to the task. And he's done a much better job of limiting his turnovers during the Radicals' current 3-game winning streak.
Listen to this crowd get into it down 1 goal.
And Madison trying to win their 4th consecutive game tonight. And if they do, they will be right back in the playoff mix. A loss would make the outlook very unlikely. 3 weeks from Sunday. Lake with the scoober. It's Shanahan into the end zone for Barker. And despite the crescendo from the crowd and the intensity from the Madison defense, Chicago's smooth, steady, calm.
Yeah, that was very nice, patient Chicago offense. I mean, simply put, they used the entirety of the field. They took their time, they found their shots, and that was one of the few points so far where we haven't seen the Radicals get a look at a block. There's been a lot of points before this where the Radicals almost made a play, barely missed one, but on that one, Chicago really looked clean, and they looked confident in every throw. None of them were really up for grabs.
You said it. I think that was maybe Chicago's best long drive of the game so far. They showed a lot of composure. And one thing that I was reminded of in that red zone set for their offense, that looked a lot like their pregame warm-up. They were kind of communicating with their eyes. They were talking to each other. You saw Nico Lake instructing a couple receivers out there. The Chicago offense is together out there.
Final 40 seconds of the half. Post from Weiland. Back for Preuss. Cal Tornabene on the mark. And here's Kelly right back to Preuss. Under 30 seconds now for Madison. If the Radicals can score here, they'll receive to start the 3rd quarter with a chance to tie, assuming Chicago doesn't score again.
And Radicals really looking to burn clock here to essentially use this last possession like a break.
10 seconds, low catch from Luo. Back to Preuss with 5. Preuss takes the shot into the crowd. That disc deflected and intercepted. Peter Graffi has the block as time expires. Like he's done so many times at Breese Stevens Field, cleaning up the trash at the end of a quarter. Peter Graffi with 2 blocks in the half in his first game playing back in Madison. And Chicago will go to the half with a 2-goal lead, Adam.
Oh, and just off of Paust's hands. That's the 2nd time in the half that's happened. That's got to hurt. He's had such a good half other than that. Man.
The Radicals have to clean up their downfield. They're simply not exposing the Union defense well enough, and something's got to get a little cleaner for them to be able to attack that end zone. Right there, we saw it. They weren't sure where to go, and guys are clumping at odd spots. The Union are really dictating how the Radicals are playing offense. and they're doing a good job on their own of cleaning up what started out a little poorly and has since gotten pretty sharp.
22 total points played in the half. There was a break on the first. There was only one more break in the next 21 points, which means the offenses have done a pretty nice job. Chicago has not been broken yet through 2 quarters tonight. And it's 11-9, Union lead, halfway home. Free Friday Frisbee tonight from Madison.
They say there's no such thing as a free lunch, but there is at DraftKings. You can compete for thousands in prizes in our free-to-play pools without spending a dime. Put your knowledge to the test by answering questions about specific games or events. The more you pick right, the better your shot to win and chow down on a cash casserole. Casserole. Download the DraftKings app now. Enter with the promo code PLAYFREE for thousands and make it rain.
Gorgeous night for Ultimate here on the Isthmus. Kevin Pettis-Scantling with a smile on his face, but not reflected by the scoreboard. His team trailing Chicago 11-9. Our halftime show tonight will feature the Week 8 AUDL Top 10 and also Lepler's locks for Week 9. The games you got to know who's going to win. I got the answers for you. Remember, went 3-0 last week. That's all coming up as we continue our coverage from Madison right after this. Welcome back to AUDL Weekly, and it's now time for Lepler's Locks, presented by DraftKings. Remember, you can sign up for the DraftKings app using the promo code AUDL, and you can join our free-to-play pool for your chance to win your share of $1,000 in cash. Just answer the 10 questions on the results of the second half of this Friday's Chicago-Madison game, and you can watch it live on the DraftKings Dream stream to follow all the action from Madison. And if you live in one of the states where it's legal to do so, you can also wager on AUDL games via the DraftKings Sportsbook. Last week on Lepler's Locks, I went 3-0. So the pressure's on to keep the perfect picks rolling. Here are my locks for Week 9 in the AUDL. Number 1, I like the Austin Soul, -2 at home against the San Jose Spiders. Obviously, the Soul struggled in the second half last week against San Diego, but the Spiders have nowhere near the offensive firepower that the Growlers have, and Austin needs to get right before its regular season finale against Dallas. So, -115 odds, I got the Soul giving 2 points against the Spiders. That is my first Lepler's lock. Number 2, and you may notice league-wide there are a lot of large point spreads in the league this week. I'm staying away from those. So my second lock this week, San Diego Growlers, given 2 points at home against the Seattle Cascades. Cascades have not been a very good road team this year, and look, I think the Growlers will return home focused on finishing their season strong to ensure they don't risk falling out of the top spot in the West Division. So, Growlers -2 at home against the Cascades. That's my second Lepler's lock for Week 9. And number 3, I'm going to stay in the West Division, and it makes me a little nervous because, look, the West Division has consistently produced closer games this season than the other 2 divisions in the league. 14 of the 24 games in the West have been decided by 3 goals or less. But I'm still going to take Dallas, -3.5 against the San Jose team that'll be playing in the Texas Heat on the second day of a back-to-back. Honestly, I feel a bit more comfortable just taking the Dallas money line here, -195, and just banking the Roughnecks to win, not even worry about the spread. But I think I got to have the guts to make the picks against the spread. So, Dallas, after beating San Diego at home by 4 last Friday, they can certainly win by 4 or more this Sunday against the Spiders. Roughnecks, -3.5. That is my final Lepler's lock for Week 9. Hope you'll tune in for Free Friday Frisbee on the DraftKings Dream stream as Chicago meets Madison in a massively important Central Division clash. That's 8 p.m. Eastern Time on Friday night, and you can join the fun by playing the free-to-play pool for your shot at $1,000. And just a reminder, I went 3-0 last week, so stay with me while I'm hot. Austin -2, San Diego -2, Dallas -3.5. Those are this week's Lepler's Locks.
They say there's no such thing as a free lunch, but there is at DraftKings. You can compete for thousands in prizes in our free-to-play pools without spending a dime. Put your knowledge to the test by answering questions about specific games or events. The more you pick right, the better your shot to win and chow down on a cash casserole. Casserole. Download the DraftKings app now. Enter with the promo code PLAYFREE for thousands and make it rain.
Back here at Breeze Stevens Field, where there is always an amazing atmosphere for Ultimate. Currently, Chicago leads Madison 11-9 at halftime. One of the stars for the Radicals throughout this season has been the handler Victor Luo. He completed all 26 of his throws in the first half, had 1 assist, 1 goal, and now he's down in the field with our Tyler Kinley.
Victor, thanks for chatting with me here. That was a wild first half. How do you feel going into that second half, just given such a crazy start?
I think we were a little nervous to start, but once we got our legs under us, I think we started to kind of calm down and started getting into our flow a bit better. We know our defense can get us breaks. We just have to convert on our opportunities and then let them go to work.
What's your takeaway from seeing what the Chicago Union have done on defense for you guys?
It's a bit different than the last game. I think they're putting Goff on me a bit more, so a bit of a bigger mark, and kind of forcing me to either go out and then they can have him go against me deep. But I think that's good for us, so then we have like someone coming under to get the disc, and I don't know, I think it's been okay for us so far.
We noted seeing Goff match up on you. How do you feel about that? Is that something where you want to start dictating around the disc more? How do you deal with that?
I think for me it's more cutting off my teammates at that point, because I know we have a mismatch then on the field because Goff is one of their better deep defenders. So once I kind of see how that's developing, then I can kind of start to develop my cuts after that.
So coming into today, we knew this was a big game. How did it feel coming in? How's the team been preparing for this kind of matchup?
We know we have the best fans in the league, so we just know that if we're converting on offense, then our defense is going to get a big boost from our fans, and hopefully we can close the game out.
You might have the best stadium. Would you say it is?
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Thanks, Victor. Yeah. Back to you, Evan.
Yep. Tyler, Victor, thanks so much. A couple minutes away from the start of the second half here at Breeze Stevens Field, without a doubt the greatest venue for Ultimate in the American Ultimate Disc League. This has been one of the landmarks in Madison for a long time, built in the early 1900s, renovated multiple times, and it has been the home of Championship Weekend on multiple occasions. But this year, of course, we're headed to DC this September. Second half coming up. Well, just like Wrigley Field in Chicago, if you have the right apartment, you can sit on your roof and watch the Frisbee here at Breeze Stevens Field.
Evan, I think you need to apologize to any Chicago Cubs fans who might be watching this broadcast tonight after the fire sale of their team today.
Yeah, well, when you win a World Series, you get a little leeway in terms of what happens in the ensuing years, but I was devastated to see Anthony Rizzo become a Yankee, a former Red Sox farmhand. I played disc golf with Anthony Rizzo before, and now he's a member of the Yankees. It's just a punch to the gut.
I will say it was very good seeing Chris Bryant and Anthony Rizzo getting their last moments inside of Wrigley, and I'm left here wondering, why didn't Pat Schreiwise and Peter Graffi do that here?
Third quarter underway. Peter Graffi launches the pull. This is one of two games in the AUDL tonight, and the Raleigh Flyers have just finished off their 6th consecutive win, taking down the Pittsburgh Thunderbirds. A closer game than some expected. Thunderbirds easily covering the 7.5-point spread. 20-17 was the final. But a big game for Alan Laviolette. Big game for Henry Fisher, as Raleigh has a 6-game winning streak heading into their road trip to Boston. Free Friday Frisbee next week. And then the game of the year, potentially Raleigh at New York on Saturday, August 7th. Logan Pruce floats this one to Jacob Wam, and Peter Graffey goes down hard on his right knee.
Oh no.
Peter Graffey went up high, landed awkwardly, and immediately grabbed that right knee in pain.
This looked incredibly painful. It looked like he came down on his knee straight.
He is bending it, but you hope it's just kind of knocking it like a funny bone.
Obviously, you hate to see this for anybody. Hopefully it just scared him and he'll be okay. Graffey.
Oh, and a little hop step. That's nice.
Making his return to Madison. I mean, recently got married. He's back from his honeymoon. Participating, though, in this game tonight for Chicago after missing the last trip to the Radicals home. So Luo's got the disc. About 20 yards out. And the hammer over the top for Johnson. Luo is in the end zone, or no, he's not. Now he dishes it to Power, and Luo has the assist.
Really good hammer there from Luo. He was in a real tough spot. I got to hand it to Chicago Union defense there for stopping all the options, but Luo got him out of it and then scored the goal and was aware enough to see he wasn't just in, tapped it in quickly and put it in.
Gentlemen, final weekend here in July, shifts into August. Game of the week in Minnesota. We'll see if the wind chill can get back on track after their winning streak was stopped by Chicago last week. Interesting games out west. The question, can the favorites take care of business at home in games that they're favored to win? San Jose going to Austin and Dallas, and San Diego hosting Seattle. Of course, we were in Texas last week for the Growlers trip. Last Friday night, the Roughnecks closed on a 9-4 run to win 19-15, and then Andrew Meshnick gets the block. San Diego overcoming a 4-goal, they get a 5-goal first half deficit in the second day of the back-to-back to beat Austin on day 2. So another D for Meshnick, and look, a chance here for Madison to get its first break of the game.
This is the test for Madison. Can they put this one in?
If you're Tim DeBile, you'd rather not use one of your 2 second-half timeouts just 2 minutes into the third quarter. But DeBile walking up the line. He's standing at midfield right now, basically at Chicago's bench. Chase Marty to Dan Garlock to Josh Wilson, the veteran. Wilson's been on the Radicals every year they've been a franchise. Shooting it to KPS. Miscommunication leads to the first Radicals break.
That is big. Can you hear that, crowd? Can you hear that break horn?
It's kind of a fascinating offense there from the Radicals defensive line. Essentially, they did the same thing about 5 times in a row. They used the open side, stopped there, came back, swing, loopy around to the opposite side of the field, back to the middle, open side, back, sort of typewritering down the field for the goal. I mean, again, smart, patient, taking what's given. A little oopsie daisy in the middle there, but they held on, and I guess that's sort of the theme of the game today so far, is just hold on.
Well, and especially when they are now in their second straight game of not completing a huck throw. This is now 6 quarters and about 3 minutes of change where the Radicals have not completed a deep pass. They're doing everything with dink and dunk. but they're doing it effectively.
2 straight goals for Madison to start the second half. And Chicago feeling a little pressure perhaps for the first time. Kaminsky working with Arders for Shock. No Giannis out there after the Union O-line was broken. Goff downfield, Reed Martin downfield. Hammer goes up for Barker, the one O-line guy who stayed out there. Robinson to Martin. Kaminsky over to Arders. It's interesting to watch Madison play defense in these situations because they're basically falling back into a zone, trying to force something floaty up high that a wing can chase down. Radicals crowd making more noise. Arders swings it for Shock. Chicago, nice job being patient here, huh?
Absolutely.
They do look a little out of their rhythm, though.
Fans can feel something coming.
Really getting into that math equation of so many throws can only be completed in a row.
Arders zips it on the money, and not the easiest grab for Reed Martin, but he'll hang on. The 22-year-old out of the University of Illinois gives Chicago the lead again.
I got to hand it to Paul Arders on that point. You know, he comes from a background as a bit of a gunslinger. He has one of the biggest forehands in recent memory, but you don't see it too much. He's holstered a lot of that within this AUDL kind of game. His role is to be a bit more patient. However, there we saw him open up the entirety of the field with a massive hammer over the top. And again, patient, but then a nice slicing blade across the field for the goal. You know, he sort of hides in plain sight for a bit until he unleashes what he can do.
He's got such a pace on that flick, whether it's a huck or even on that just kind of crossfield dagger he threw for the assist.
Bruce lets the pull fall out of bounds, so the Radicals will center the disc at the brick mark. It'll be Luo initiating possession. Tyler, what'd you think of Victor's answers that he gave you at halftime about handling the Nate Goff matchup when Goff's on him defensively?
Well, the thing that stands out is, I mean, he's very aware that Nate Goff's on him. Just as you said, he's an aware player. He thinks, and he's trying to move Nate around the field, keep him out of the way. Goff is a playmaker, and if he can either threaten himself or just take him out of the play, you know, he'll do so wisely.
Weiland right back to post. Kelly right back to post. And now Bruce. Weiland unmarked. Finally, first closes in. Goff went for the block, but that gives a free look downfield for Luo. Now Goff switches off him. And that shot gonna float over the crowd and into the hands of Chris Weiland. Oh, it looked like Drew Swanson had a great chance, but he didn't recognize it quickly enough.
Yeah, they got a lucky grab on that one to eke out that O point, but it counts, and those goals are going to add up. They need a few of those, but they're getting them.
We're almost to the midway point here in the third quarter, and neither team has had more than a 2-goal padding this entire match. And to that point, how about this stat for Chicago's top 3 throwers? Pavel Giannis, Nico Lake, and Pat Schreiwise. Not a turnover amongst the trio.
There were 9 turnovers in the first quarter. There have only been 6 total turnovers in the quarter and a half since.
That's the jitters we heard from Luo.
Both these teams know what's at stake in this one.
Chicago clinches a playoff spot with a win. Madison basically eliminated with a loss. They would need some crazy results. Victories from Indianapolis and Detroit over the top teams to have a chance if they cannot win tonight. They may need some help anyway. Shanahan with the disc, marked by Garlock. Pettit Scantling went flying by Nico Lake. Lake resets for Shrywise. Adam, have you ever seen Pat Shrywise rattled? It's a trick question because I know the answer is no. It's just amazing how calm he always seems with the disc.
Oh no, he gets rattled every now and again, and Angry Pat comes out, and you don't want Angry Pat. Angry Pat will run it every other until his team scores.
So when he gets rattled, it's actually a good thing for the team he's on.
Yeah.
Don't poke the bear.
Absolutely. He's Papa Pat now, so he's got an even added level of patience, but yeah, you don't poke that bear.
Shout out to Pat's wife, Georgia, and son, Walt, presumably watching tonight back in Chicago. And a reminder, you can play free for thousands in cash all season long with DraftKings free-to-play pools. Just download the DraftKings app and use the promo code AUDL when you sign up. Next week, we will be in Boston for Free Friday Frisbee. The Raleigh Flyers riding a 6-game winning streak against the Boston Glory, who are on the outside of the East or the Atlantic Division playoffs right now, but I got a feeling we're going to see something special from Boston down the stretch, whether it's against Raleigh or New York. They've got some opportunities to really get a marquee win for their first season in the league.
And you know they're hunting for that. You know Boston is a city of sports pride where they want that.
They've been banged up a good portion of the season, but starting to get a little healthier. Look forward to seeing the Flyers and the Glory next Friday night. We saw Boston play in Raleigh in the second day of a back-to-back back in June, and it was a really entertaining game. Tied 20-all through 3 quarters. Raleigh won it 27-24. Paust to Bruce to the end zone. That looked good.
Pretty.
The whole time that point was going on, I was thinking to myself just how pivotal it was for Madison. We've had some scores from both sides. There haven't been a lot of turns, and this is the moment where things can get a little bit easy going. You might get a little looser with your throws, and they needed that one to not falter. Teams can get a little bit settled, and that's when they can really make a mistake, is all I can say, because we've seen so many this game. But for Madison to put that one in, you know, I think it was a dangerous one, and they proved not only can they put it in, but it was clean.
Bruce really starting to come on in this game too. I think that's something that the Radicals really want to continue to feed, is that Pruis and Luo backfield.
242 throwing yards, the most on the Radicals, 3 more than Rami Paust. Pavel still the game leader with 320 throwing yards. Here in the third quarter, just over 4 minutes to play in this third period. That throw is incomplete. Giannis with his first throwaway of the night.
Now watch how this crowd responds.
Madison has to give him something to cheer about first. Tom Annan, the veteran. Arders goes flying by. Ranabat back to Annan. And a timeout called from the Madison sideline by Tim DeBile. Radicals will get the O-line on the field with a chance to take their first lead of the night.
And this is exactly the kind of moment I was talking about. You know, it's a third quarter lull. I can't put it any differently. You know, you've played a lot of the game, you start feeling comfortable, and all of a sudden you have this kind of a turn that it's unforced. And all of a sudden, the Radicals gain this momentum. And I think this is the kind of thing where Breeze Stadium really starts to pay dividends. The crowd starts getting into it. The game's getting closer. It's getting drawing to a close, and it's 13-13. They get exactly what they want.
So one mistake there from Giannis, his first throwaway on his 32nd throw of the night.
Giannis has been so comfortable till this point in the game. It'll be interesting to see how he responds to that initial mistake. One of the things with Pavel is that when he's in that comfort zone, as you can see when he's blowing kisses, out there buddying everyone, that's great Pavel. When he starts to make a mistake or two, he can be a little bit hard on himself.
Madison so far in the game, 1 for 3 on break chances. No one was on the second point of this third quarter, after Madison did not break Chicago at all, and just 2 chances in the first half.
Here we see Von Allen Gilon now marking up on Victor Luo.
That's the matchup I like if I'm Chicago.
Proust to Poust. And a whistle and a contact call will give Rami Poust the disc on the goal line. See if Madison runs the play, as they like to call it. No one's behind Poust at the moment. He'll scoop her over the top, and that'll work. Avery Johnson has the goal, and Madison, for the first time tonight, is in front.
Just soak in that Breeze Stevens for a minute.
It's huge. I mean, it's a difference maker. Breeze is erupting.
Well, and now that they have that crowd, it's not going away. Like I said about a quarter ago, you could feel the crowd wanting something to chew on, and there just wasn't much. A lot of these slower, kind of methodical drives from the Radicals. Now this first break.
The challenge here from Madison is that this Chicago team is good enough to respond. They've got the talent, they've got the experience to know the game's not even close to over. There's a lot of time left to play, and Madison needs to keep this momentum going, not feel a lull themselves.
Chicago beat Madison 18-15 in Elmhurst, Illinois on July 2nd. 8 days after that, Madison got a 3-goal win, 19-16 here at Breeze Stevens. Josh Wilson called the foul on himself. Integrity rule there by Wilson, the veteran, and Chicago will retain the disc.
You got to appreciate that.
This is the rubber match in the series, and Schreiwise rips it. What a dime from Pat Schreiwise to Ross Barker, and that's got to sting a little bit for all the Radicals fans out there.
Oh boy, look at how quiet that crowd is now. What a shot from Schreiwise up the line.
And 2 guys that inspired a lot of Madison cheers during their times wearing the Radicals colors.
That's a great shot from Schreiwise, and I got to hand it to Ross Barker. When we saw that other one earlier from Pavel Giannis starting off the point, a standstill hug, that was to Ross Barker. Here again, Ross is offering another great deep cut. He has consistently been offering those deep strikes that are paying off.
Officially a 61-yard throw and catch from Schreiwise to Barker. The Union are now 5 of 6 on hucks tonight. The Radicals are 0 for 1. And there was a violation of some sort called. The Radicals are 10 yards in front of their goal line. Chicago pulling 10 yards deep in their end zone.
Great response there from Chicago, too. You could feel that crowd getting in. It's almost like Madison getting an extra player out there on the field. Chicago just runs out, throws a dime huck, and that is now back on serve.
Penalized 10 yards. Chicago rolls that pull out of bounds on the sideline, where Goff and Schock will set up the double team.
And again, we're starting to get into that place where there's a meta game to be played here too. Madison has to win, but they also have to win by a margin.
Stall count rising, and Proust does get the reset, sacrificing about 20 yards to do it.
Very good find there.
Power throwing through the contact and behind the disc. A foul signaled. It might be against Madison, and this is coming back. I think they called a double foul, but that negated the completion. So no loss of yardage. Power does get the reset. And here comes Madison. By the way, there is a gorgeous sky right now here in Madison, Wisconsin. As there usually is when we come to Breese-Stevens Field, this epic venue for Ultimate. Blady throw, and it's
Von play.
Alan Gilon deflected it, Goff intercepted it, and Chicago has a chance to retake the lead.
There goes that man. That's what Von Allen Gilon does.
Good for one or two of those tonight.
Man, he just comes out of nowhere.
Floating that one too far ahead for Goff. Valley had a good idea, but Goff wasn't ready for it.
The Radicals get a bit of a freebie there.
What a sequence. Final minute of the third quarter. Free Friday Frisbee. The final weekend in July. Greatest attempt, and Luo couldn't get much on it. The first 3 turnover point of the game, and Chicago calls for a timeout with 38 seconds left in the period to get the O-line on the field in a tie game.
My hat's off to Chicago's defense. How many times did we see them force a tough, Blady throw? Goff almost picked one off earlier. He read it, he bit just over his head. Immediately the next throw, similar Blady throw. Von comes through. I mean, clearly they're doing a good job of dictating what throws they want and then trying to make those plays, creating their own opportunities. It's fun to watch.
And they're just junking it up out there. They're making Madison work on every throw. You could even see it in the first couple of throws out of that double team off the stoppage. They were making Madison take 20-yard resets into the bad half of the field.
Yeah, it's fun to watch on the defensive side, and clearly...
Not even on the screen yet, and there he is.
Clearly it's given the Radicals some fits.
It's like his body is made of a light rubber. He just kind of bounces and flies around the field.
For Alan Gilon, it's the combination of the read and like the gall to make that kind of play. To sprint from 20 yards away knowing you're going to get that. And he does it, like you say, almost once or twice a game. He did it in Chicago's win to get a 3-goal padding at the beginning of the fourth quarter, back at the beginning of July. He just steps up.
He steps up, and a lot of it comes from a good defensive effort team-wide that creates these expected opportunities that he can read early.
That's a great point.
Try-wise over the double team to Arters. 25 seconds. The Union look to retake the lead. Chicago will receive to start the fourth. Giannis zips it up the line, and that will work to Shanahan. Radicals will have 15 seconds remaining to look for the equalizer.
Well, Pavel responded to my question very quickly, asking how he would rebound off of that turnover a couple minutes ago, and comes right back out and puts a dagger in Madison's chest at the end of this third quarter.
You're not surprised by that, are you?
No.
No, what I liked about that is a little bit of what we were talking about earlier, is that Pavel attacked that with his legs, and his receiving the disc, I mean, what was it, 3 or 4 yards at most, but it changed a bit of the angle of attack, and he was able to find that end zone shot much more easily. That's the kind of difference I think he's able to offer, and they're trying to stop that kind of look, and it's a challenge.
All right, huge buzzer beater situation here, and Chicago's pull sails out of bounds. So Madison will get a chance to start in the middle of the field. Weiland, Wam, Pettit, Scantling, Kanaki, the downfield size. Meshnik, Paust, and Luo are the 3 handlers. Luo has Paust and Meshnik in the middle of the field. And he'll go to the wide side for Kanaki. It's Meshnik now. 8 seconds for Paust, and Luo has 6. Luo to Meshnik with 4. Meshnik flicks it to the end zone. Pettit Scantling is there, but it's knocked away. Peter Graffi back out on the field and wins the buzzer beater battle. Chicago heads to the fourth with a 1-goal lead.
It's do or die time. One more quarter to go.
Let's see if this Radicals team and crowd can step back up into it.
Third block of the night for Peter Graffi, and honestly, it's just good to see him back on the field after his knee buckled earlier in the quarter. These types of situations, what he made his reputation on. Kanaki and KPS had a chance here, but it was Goff, Swanson, and Graffi winning the battle. Union by 1 as we head to the fourth.
They say there's no such thing as a free lunch, but there is at DraftKings. You can compete for thousands in prizes in our free-to-play pools without spending a dime. Put your knowledge to the test by answering questions about specific games or events. The more you pick right, the better your shot to win and chow down on a cash casserole. Casserole. Download the DraftKings app now. Enter with the promo code PLAYFREE for thousands and make it rain.
Rowdy crowd here in Madison, Wisconsin. The Radicals trailing by 1 as we head to the fourth quarter on Free Friday Frisbee. As we look at the numbers, Madison had 2 breaks in that third quarter. Chicago had 1, and it's kind of crazy. The Radicals now, 7 straight quarters without a completed huck?
Yeah, 7.
That is wild.
Especially contrast to Chicago, 5 of 6 on hucks tonight. And the Union have a 1-goal lead, and they will have the disc to start the fourth quarter. What's the key for Chicago here, Tyler? These final 12 minutes, they got a playoff spot in their hand if they can hang on.
To me, it's keep doing what you're doing. Frankly, I've liked the way that they've played. You know, there have been mistakes, but there will be those mistakes. If I were a betting man, I would bet on them right now, just given the flow of their offense relative to the flow of the Radicals. The Radicals' offense has seemed to get in its own way a little bit, and I think that some of that's why we're not seeing those hucks. They're not connecting their advancing throws to another advancing throw downfield. Often they're gaining yards and then going laterally, whereas Chicago's looked a bit cleaner.
Yeah, there's a disconnect right now between the Radicals' backfield and their receivers. It's becoming very visible as this game plays out.
Well, the Radicals know how important these next 12 minutes are. Their postseason lives very likely hanging in the balance. Madison never missed the playoffs from 2013 to 2018. They made the Final Four 6 consecutive seasons, winning the championship on this field in 2018, and they went 6-6, missed the playoffs in 2019. A disappointing year, felt like a transition year. Arter shooting deep for Graffi. Peter Graffi is in the end zone for Chicago.
Looks like Arter's unholstered that huck.
You know, that's an Arter's kind of throw that we can expect sometimes. I mean, I'm not sure if it's the look that they necessarily want. It might have been into triple or more coverage, but it hit the mark. And welcome back, Peter Graffi. I'm incredibly glad to see he's okay. That was a very scary knee injury, and having had 2 myself, I was really hoping to see him back, and clearly he is.
Was that sort of like a kill lineup for Chicago that they ran out there? Graffi on offense?
Felt like it.
Chicago coming out hard to start this 4th quarter.
Graffi's not a guy who's going to be intimidated by the crowd or influenced by it in any way.
And that's a statement point to make. Coming out of half, immediately shoot deep.
Good decision by Dave Woods. And I mean, Adam, you've talked about before how Graffi, if anything, rises to the occasion in the big moments when the crowd is at its most highest intensity.
Oh, he's absolutely kind of a WWE heel in that sense. He thrives off of energy for good and for bad.
This disc floating up there, and it's incomplete. Wam unable to make the catch. And it feels like the Radicals are teetering here again. Jeff Robinson will pick up, doubled on the sideline by Luo and Paust. Scuba to Graffi. Graffi goes over the top. Alan Gilon has it, and Chicago scores again. A goal and an assist for Graffi on the first 2 points of the 4th after getting a block on the buzzer beater to close the 3rd, and the Union now have their largest lead of the night.
I guarantee you Peter Graffi is reveling a bit and pounding home a couple coffin nails on his former team.
It's a 4-0 run for Chicago since they trailed 14-13 with 3:12 left in the 3rd.
Tyler, like you were saying earlier, Madison once again getting cheeky with those over-the-top swing passes.
You know, it's true. And the thing I'm seeing is that that's what Chicago's giving them. You know, they're having to take these looks. They're leaving it open, and you saw there Vaughn chasing like a bat out of hell. I mean, he knew it was coming because they're putting them in that position. He knows to expect it, and they're having to throw to evade him, and there they had to evade him and just threw too long.
And now you can see them anticipating that Vaughn poach on the backside, and it's just kind of rattling the whole system.
Chicago rolled the pull out of bounds, forcing Madison to start from the sideline. Oh, handler defense. Tremendous work from Cal Tornabene, getting the block on Tom Annan.
That was a terrific play.
Absolutely.
Wheels falling off here for Madison.
Graffi's still out there.
Yeah,
3 straight points.
Union looking for the knockout punch. Goodness, has Chicago turned it on these last few minutes or what? And part of that is Graffi. The cousin of Angry Pat. What a catch by Goff into the end zone for Robinson. And the Union can sniff the AUDL playoffs.
They're feeling it. They are feeling it right now.
That was an uppercut. You can just feel the energy drain after that one to put Chicago up 4.
And what a catch by Goff there. I mean, he's just using his athletic talent, his size. What a block.
Man, Meshnik almost had that, but great anticipation leap from Goff to go up early and get that. I think a lot of other people in Goff's position, oh, look at him lying down.
You got to pose for the cameras.
Playboy Goff, I guess.
I mean,
5 straight goals for Chicago.
That just shows you how good they feel. I mean, you only feel that kind of, I don't know, exuberance when you are playing this well.
They're loose again.
Yes.
They got tight in those middle 2 quarters, and they're loose. I think that Pat Shriwise hook to start the quarter really set the tone. Shriwise now out here on defense. Chicago is not messing around with these 4th quarter lineups.
Madison looking for its first goal of the 4th. Chicago's got the first 3. It was just a 1-goal lead at the end of 3. And the Radicals are in. Johnson gets the goal. And look, they still have time, and they still have this rowdy crowd. We'll see if the Radicals can get willed back into the battle.
It's true. That was a fairly boring point, but it's exactly what they needed. Right the ship, and that they did there. They didn't need to use any crazy throws besides a hammer that was relatively easy to complete unguarded. And past that, it's just work the disc up, take looks, and move the disc relatively quickly. What I'm curious to see now is what's their defensive strategy here. They can't play too slow. They need to force some shots, but they also can't get, they can't front too much.
They're going to roll it out of bounds.
Exactly.
Take a page out of Chicago's book.
Chicago's been hitting those deep shots, so that fronting strategy they've had to abandon a bit.
It's Giannis doubled immediately, and the low scoober is caught by Arders. Right back to Pavel. Chicago living a little dangerously. Oh, very close there. Kanaki on Shanahan.
How many times have we said that tonight? So close for the Madison defense, but just not quite.
Barker, pivot, opens it up to Keegan North. And North, oh, what a catch! Madison cannot believe that it was called up. Jake Spyro and Tim DeBile, the Radicals coaching staff, arguing in fury.
Couldn't see it well from up here, but I thought I might have caught a bobble. Ooh, that's a duck.
I thought Shanahan had it.
Yeah, he looked like he got that.
Well, you can tell by Keegan North's body language, he knew that one is on him. Thank you, Shanahan.
What a grab. He got that. He got that left hand underneath.
Look at the Radicals bench.
Sideline best perspective,
Well, that was crazy.
It looked like from both those alternate angles, like Shanahan got it.
I thought he caught it with his right hand. He came up with it in his left hand.
Yeah, I think he had the left hand actually underneath the edge of that disc.
Huh.
You could also make an argument that perhaps the disc touched the ground as he was bobbling it ever so slightly.
And you can't quite see that from those two camera angles.
Well, that's what I'm curious about.
It goes as a goal. And it's a 4-goal Chicago lead with 8:19 left. Keegan North breathes a massive sigh of relief.
Absolutely, he does.
Now a Madison team that hasn't completed a huck in a couple of games needs to play quickly. They seem content to just continue dunking their way down the field.
It looks like one solution that they're figuring out is just to overload these backfield sets and get a lot of people around the disc, get that disc moving quickly. You can see 3 to 4 players around the disc at all times right now for Madison.
Paus to throw and go. Kelly.
Tough spot.
Kelly zips into the end zone where Rami Paust was ready for the clean clap catch.
We're talking about the Radicals' challenges when it comes to connecting their handlers with their downfield cutters. And I want to compare the two offenses. When you see Chicago on this next O point, pay attention to how much of the field feels like it's wide open. They've done a good job of essentially clumping their players, call it a stack, call it whatever you want, into certain areas of the field, whether it's one side, the other, or the middle. There's a lot of area to throw in. And what we're seeing from the Radicals is a lot of players end up hanging out in some of those places, and it basically defends the spot. Here, I want to take a look at how the Radicals look downfield, because often, if someone's in that spot, they'll clear out hard and try to create that space.
Radicals trying to get a double team on the sideline again. Giannis in no hurry, calmly approaching the disc. Giannis rejected. No, the foul was called.
Here, look at how aggressive the Madison D is. Look how open everyone is on the other side of the field and where all of the Madison defenders are. They're within 40 yards to 50 yards of the disc at most.
On a second chance, Giannis converts it. Burl up the field for Arders, not in yet. Arders, what a throw. Barker is there.
I don't think anyone was within 30 yards of Ross Barker that entire point. He was just chilling over here on the near side rail, just waiting. Like you were saying, just spacing the field, being patient.
We didn't even get a chance much to see there because the Radicals are getting that aggressive. They had every defender within a few yards of the disc, maybe one hanging out deep, and what they're really forcing is a tougher over-the-top look amidst a sea of trees of hands, you know, in the double team.
That was almost a no-look hammer from Arders across field. He just kind of snapped his wrist and it went 30 yards.
Here's the night for Paul Arders statistically. 6 assists, 2 goals, no turns. He's completed all 25 of his throws. Game high +8. 212 throwing yards, 135 receiving yards for the Chicago offense. And a contact call gives Weiland a free 10. Wants to march it off and initiate quickly. Shock comes with a double team, and Logan Preuss drops the disc.
Heartbreaking.
May have just been looking at his next throw before he secured that possession.
Chicago scores here on this break opportunity. I wouldn't be surprised to just see him melt clock for the rest of the game. They might do it on this drive.
Here's Alon Gilon. Takes the reset for Sam Kaminsky.
Kaminsky's been a real nice developing player, especially in this midseason, as Chicago's needed a few more younger players to step up.
I think it's interesting. Pay attention to when Graffi receives the disc. There's nobody more calm on the field with the disc in his hands than Peter Graffi, almost walking and just slowly passing as if he's tossing in the park.
As if he's played this Radicals zone defense for years in practice.
This point started with 6:41 remaining. 90 seconds have gone by. After the Logan Preuss drop, Chicago just letting time tick away by completing one pass after another.
They had like a 4-minute drive in their win at Chicago at the beginning of July, correct? I believe they had like a 3 to 4 minute drive just to bleed clock in that fourth quarter.
Shock into the red zone. Graffi gets a touch. Heck of an effort in the third quarter by Madison to take the lead after they trailed by 2 at the half. But a strong close to the third from the Union. And they have continued that brilliant ultimate here in the fourth. Outscoring Madison 5-2 in this culminating period.
One thing that the Radicals are missing here is anyone to hunt on the defensive end.
Graffi shooting it. Oh, Valley is there! Full extension! Jason Valley puts it away.
What a nice play from Valley. He had a couple mistakes earlier, rectifies it there with what is probably going to be the final dagger. And hats off to Chicago in this last quarter or so for just coming out and making plays. They've really turned up the playmaking here in the second half, and it's been basically all Chicago.
They've scored 7 of the last 9 points in the game. They trailed 14-13. Make it 8 of the last 10.
That's just a nice stab and grab from Valley.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the Chicago team relative to the league. I mean, we've always talked about the Atlantic Division being this powerhouse, and who knows where we're at here. But the Chicago team we're seeing today, how does it match up in the league?
I think you look at this defense that the Union are putting out there right now, and teams have to take notice. I think we're very quick to talk about Pavel Giannis and Ross Barker and Paul Arders and some of the offensive members of this team. This defense is actually their pride point. If you even talk to Pavel or a couple members of the offense, they'll reference the defense before they talk about their own accomplishments.
Between Graffi and Goff and Swanson and Alan Gilon, and if they can add Kurt Gibson back into the defensive mix. Meshnik, crossfield to Kanaki. And he floats that one up dangerously, but Josh Wilson is there.
Nice bunnies from J-Dub.
Yeah, indeed.
I thought Graffi had the read on that.
Don't underestimate the older Wilson.
Oh, he's a workout warrior.
Sure is.
I was talking to Tyler beforehand. I think he's in the best shape of his life going into his 8th season here. And look at him get up for that.
33 years old, out of Wisconsin, Milwaukee.
And shout out to Josh Wilson. He should actually be on your list for players that have been in the league every single year. Were it not for an ACL tear, I believe, in 2014, he would have played every year of AUDL since 2012.
It's a great point. He has been on the Radicals every year. But as it stands right now, there are only 4 guys who have played in every season. Indianapolis is Travis Carpenter. Indianapolis is Cameron Brock. San Diego's Goose Helton, and Montreal's Kevin Quinlan. But you're right, Josh Wilson does belong in that club too. He's been on a roster every season.
Can he redshirt? Can this list get a red shirt?
The pandemic changed the way we classify it. So, like the NCAA, you don't know what player is what year anymore.
That's true.
Everybody getting a free year. Under 3 minutes here. Chicago up by 4. The Radicals simply running out of time. Athletic bid by Garlock, but he comes up empty, and Jeremy Burrow catches the score from Ross Barker.
Let's talk a little bit about Madison's youth. Now, this is a rough game. However, they fought, and I'm curious to see how it goes these next 2.5 minutes, because these kind of minutes are immensely important to your career. I mean, you don't get games like this very often, and for each of them, this is a growth moment. You know, that last point, they put on a bit of a double team that seemed to me a little bit weak. I want to see them attack the rest of this game. You know, this is a tough deficit to come back from. This Chicago Union team is peaking in the game right now, but I want to see what they're made of. I mean, this youth is only going to get stronger in the years to come, and I want to see them fight.
I love that till the last breath mindset that you talk about, getting in every rep you can against good teams. Look at Valley still running down here on these points, though, setting up that mark early. That's kind of the epitome of Chicago's defense this entire night.
Adam, you watch more film than anybody I know. If you're thinking about Chicago versus any of the top 4 in the Atlantic, which of the top 4 do you think Chicago would have the best chance against, and which do you think would be the toughest matchup for the Union?
Oh boy, you're really putting me on the spot. I would have to say their best matchup would probably be a team like Raleigh. Likes to shoot. I think that they have the bigs in the system to throw some wrenches into that.
That looked like a contact call, and they will get Graffi there.
I didn't do it, says Graffi. Never. Oh, no, he didn't. Jack is also waving it off.
How about that? Kelly shows the integrity with his old teammate.
I think Atlanta would give this Chicago team a lot to handle. I think that Chicago would go in thinking, oh, hey, we've got reps against the zone.
Not that zone.
Not that zone, and specifically against the personnel that the Hustle have this year.
I thought your observation on Twitter during or after that New York-Atlanta game last week about how the perception that New York had the best bigs in the league, but that may be not true anymore with what Atlanta has done.
Atlanta's got some big boys, and they know how to play, led obviously by Antoine Davis.
Brett Holzmeyer, Jakeem Polk. Scuba to the end zone from Rami Pouch with one more nifty highlight for him.
You know, but getting back to this young Radicals team, let's be real for a second. This was not a Madison team that anyone had pegged hanging with Chicago. And they not only hung with Chicago, they took a game from them here at home, and they made them sweat through 3 quarters here tonight. This was supposed to be a rebuilding year, and they pushed right to the brink of the playoffs here in the Central. I mean, just kind of hats off to this Radicals team. I think it would have been really easy for them, especially given the way that they suffered that Week 1 loss, that crazy game we were here for where it went back and forth in the last 2 seconds. That would have been an easy loss to walk away from and determine your season. And Madison didn't.
Tyler, to your point, some of the young Radicals players to keep an eye on. I mean, Jacob Wam is 21. Rami Paust is 24. Nico Ranabat won't turn 21 until Championship Saturday when we're in D.C. in September. Henry Goldenberg is 22. I mean, the future is bright with all the young players that Madison has. Ian McCoskey, another super talented kid, just 20 years old, won't be 21 until November. But the Radicals have personnel for the future. The Chicago Union have a contender in the present.
Well, I think, I'm old. I've seen a lot of Frisbee, and I think from my perspective, I can see a lot of these guys are going to be stars. So for me to talk about them right now, I mean, I'm talking about this game as an experiential one. It's tough when you're in the moment. I mean, it's a hard one to get through, but I think looking at their game here, looking at their capabilities and potential, I mean, I can see into the future them looking back and remembering this as a good experiential building game for themselves. But it's going to take time. They're not there yet, and this is sort of a take your licks moment. Could we see a comeback right now? It's pretty doubtful.
By the way, I think Pat Schreiwise just shared a moment on the field with Ian McCoskey. I believe Pat coached Ian at Madison East High School when he was coming up. Pat was living and coaching Youth Ultimate here in Madison. Now they're going against each other. A cool moment. And Dave Woods and his team are going to improve to 8-2. Woods looking to shake hands. 5 seconds left on the clock as the Radicals are going to see their 3-game winning streak come to an end. Rami Paust, one more shot down the field, intercepted by Chicago's Jeff Robinson, and that'll do it. The Radicals had a 14-13 lead late in the game, but Chicago closes brilliantly. And the Union are the first team in the AUDL to officially clinch a playoff spot heading into the 2021 postseason. Pavel Giannis, Paul Arders, and the rest of the Union win it 23-18 tonight. They scored 8 goals in the 4th quarter to put Madison away. And look, there haven't been too many nights in the history of this franchise where the Radicals' incredible crowd has gone home disappointed. But this Chicago team, after falling short here at Bree-Stevens Field 20 days ago, they bounced back tonight, Adam, with a very impressive performance down the stretch.
I think that was a game that Chicago has needed all season long. To be pushed and then to come out the other side playmaking and showing their talent. I really think that's where the Union expected to be about a month ago when they hit a little bit of rough waves. But to now see them sort of rounding into that form with 3 weeks to go until the postseason, that's got to be really encouraging if you're head coach Dave Woods.
Paul Arders finishes the game +8. Madison's Chris Weiland also a +8. Rami Paust had a game-high 570 yards, but Pavel Giannis right behind him with 562 total yards, including 403 passing yards tonight for Giannis, who finishes with 5 assists. Giannis now 304 career assists, 4th most all-time in the history of the league, and he's crossed over the 300 mark in basically half the games that it took anybody else. And in fact, he's currently tied for 3rd because Cam Harris, 304 assists as well. So Giannis and the Union improved to 6-2. And Paul Arders had a huge game for Chicago. One of the new members of the Union, but Chicago has been happy to have him. Chicago, their final 2 games of the season will be against the Detroit Mechanics, who are still looking for their first win of the season. Tyler Kinley is down on the field with Chicago's Paul Arders.
Paul,
What's up?
that was an exciting game. Tell me about how it felt in the middle there when it was neck and neck.
I feel like we had it early first quarter, and then I was just kind of praying we didn't mess that up. I mean, we really had momentum and then lost it. And we kind of spiraled last game when we played Madison here, and I feel like we actually just flipped the switch and played really well.
You flipped the switch. What did that feel like within the team? I mean, we saw it, but how did it feel internally?
I mean, you could hear it from Peter. Peter was just getting pissed, and Peter was taking shots, and I feel like that did it.
Speaking of taking shots, you took a lot of shots. We've seen a Paul Arders over the course of the year that's been a little bit reserved in terms of decision making. Today it changed a little bit. Where'd that come from?
I mean, there's no wind right now, so that's one thing. And Pavel's a little bit hurt, and he wanted, I think, the burden taken off him a little bit as well.
Did it feel like some of them were from the defensive pressure?
The shots he was taking? I mean, they were just open looks. They definitely gave us like a zony look, but that means that they left someone like Peter wide open if you can throw it deep break side. And I feel like that's something that I have, and I wanted to take it.
Coming out of this game, what do you expect from you guys? I mean, it was a bit of a statement game going in. How does everyone feel now?
I think pretty good. I mean, we consider this basically a playoff game, and it's a huge swing. I feel like earlier in the season we thought we were hot shit. Those 2 losses were probably really good for us because we realized that other teams are good too, and then this is us rebounding from that.
Well, you look good, and we're excited to see what comes. Thanks, Paul.
Yep, thank you.
Thanks so much,
Back
Tyler.
to you, Evan.
Paul Arders tonight, 5 assists. Beg your pardon, 6 assists with 2 goals. Arders in his last 3 games, 13 assists, 6 goals. Really coming on strong. The Chicago Union, who have officially punched their ticket to the 2021 AUDL playoffs. They will be one of the 8 teams still alive beyond week 12 of the regular season. Things got that much harder tonight for Madison, despite some KPS heroics. Great games from Rami Paus, Chris Weiland, and others. But Peter Graffi in his homecoming to Bree Stevens Field. He and Pat Drywise, Ross Barker walk away victorious. Final score tonight, Chicago 23 and Madison 18. Next Friday night, our Free Friday Frisbee will come to you from Boston, the Glory and the Flyers. We look forward to seeing you then on DraftKings. For now, for Tyler Kinley and Adam Ruffner, Evan Leffler saying good night from Madison.